Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me once again is Kendall Scudder, state chair for the Texas Democratic Party. Chair Scudder, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
You and I have now talked a few times about this 2025 redistricting battle that started in Texas and we saw move throughout the country. But there has been a recent development. I would love to get your take on it. A panel of federal judges earlier this week ruled 2-1 to block Texas's new congressional map. And as you and I have talked about, this congressional map had the potential to flip 5 blue seats to red in Texas, and I want to read part of what the ruling said. It said this, quote, "To be sure, politics played a role in drawing the 2025 map, but it was much more than just politics. Substantial evidence shows that Texas racially gerrymandered the 2025 map." To start off the conversation, what's your reaction to the ruling?
Well, I mean, Greg Abbott can't get mad at me. We told him. It's everybody knew that this was an illegal map. We'd been warning that people this is an illegal map. That's why my entire delegation became political refugees, because we were trying to warn folks this is an illegal political map. And so they have wasted taxpayer dollars on this game that they have chosen to play to rob Texans of the right to have the member of Congress that they want. It's really gross. But luckily, this majority Republican panel has actually ruled and set this one right. So now it's going to go to the court. The Supreme Court. We'll see how they choose to do it. But I feel confident because it couldn't be more blatantly obvious that these maps that they were drawn, they're unlawful.
I want to talk about what happened over the summer because, like you said, dozens of Texas Democrats fled the state. They went to places like Chicago to protest what was happening with this map. Do you think by garnering that national attention, because obviously it made national headlines, do you think that that helped this fight at all?
I mean, I don't think it helped in the courts. I think the courts were just ruling based on statute, but I do think it helped in the terms of getting California to move on Prop 50 and getting that to pass. That moved simply because we were trying to use some leverage there to get Texas Republicans to back down, and they still wouldn't do it. So, that means that Texas Democrats are coming out of here with the plus 10 Democrats, right? And so, don't mess with Texas Democrats because we don't roll over and take it. I'm really proud of the team for doing that. Really proud of Democrats and just people who care about democracy all over the country that have stepped up and say that it's a bridge too far. What Republicans were trying to do. Hopefully this will put to rest a lot of these redistricting wars. What we ultimately want here, federal nonpartisan redistricting committees. That's what Democrats want. That's what we've been fighting for. The question is whether Republicans will allow us to get it done.
And when you're talking about those redistricting wars, obviously the biggest one happened in California. At the time, Governor Gavin Newsom, he vowed to retaliate the Texas maps. He said he was going to fight fire with fire, and he did. He introduced Prop 50, which was that measure to directly counteract the maps and flip 5 red seats in California to blue. And that passed with flying colors earlier this month in California. Because these maps were blocked in Texas, do we need Prop 50? Do we need a new map in California?
Well, you certainly do, because the voters of California voted and said they wanted it. That's what we didn't get an opportunity to do in Texas. That was robbed of us. It would shove down our throats whether we wanted it or not. So they can sit and whine about California all you want. Governor Gavin Newsom did this the appropriate way and let the voters make the decision. And surely they landed exactly in what was in the best interest of their state. And we should have been given the opportunity to do that as well. Prop 50 is passed. That is the law. Those will be the maps. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And that's the prize that Donald Trump won because he decided to do this. Another point I want to make. Elected officials shouldn't work for the president. Elected officials should work for the people who elected them. And people in Texas wildly did not want new maps drawn. They did not want to have this gerrymandered, just as we didn't want school vouchers here in Texas. But Donald Trump and a couple of East Coast sugar daddies just decided they wanted to come into our state and tell our governor and our Republican politicians what they wanted. And they asked, how high can I jump for you? Yes, sir. What more can I do? And Texas Democrats don't work for Donald Trump. We work for the people of Texas.
I just have to go back, though, to Prop 50. It's also known as the Election Rigging Response Act. So it's by its name, it is a response to what happened in Texas. I'm curious. I mean, gerrymandering everyone says, hey, we don't like it when it's the other side, of course. But now this is gerrymandering giving Democrats a boost. Is it wrong here in California? I mean, what about Republicans in California? And I know you're a Democrat, obviously, but what is this doing to their voice?
Fair. I mean, your question's very fair, but what I'll tell you is we don't ever like gerrymandering. If Democrats had their way, we would have federal nonpartisan redistricting committees so that no one anywhere can gerrymander. But you can't expect Democrats to operate by a separate set of rules than Republicans, okay? That's just not realistic. So when Republicans decide they want to start playing these games, Democrats are going to respond. Democrats did not lead saying that this is what we were going to do. We did this because Republicans decided they were going to start this. That's why it was the redistricting response, right? And so this is what happens whenever they choose to play these games. You know what would solve for Prop 50? If Republican members of Congress, the president, and Republican members of the Senate signed on to federal nonpartisan redistricting committees. If you did that, you'd redraw California. You'd redraw Texas. Everybody would have fair districts. Communities would be protected in their representation, but they aren't going to sign on to do that because they're going to continue to try to do this around the country. That's why keeping California where it is important, because they're going to go to Indiana, they're going to go to Florida, they're going to go all over the country, keeping on trying to play this game. And it's ridiculous. You know what you should do when you're losing elections? Get better ideas. It's a whole lot easier than putting all of us through this mess of having to redraw districts all across the country.
Do you think for now, because these maps in Texas are blocked, that there is going to be more maps being redrawn in other states to try to find those 5 seats?
I hope that this sends the message that it's not appropriate. But I have learned to stop expecting Republicans to do the right thing. There was a period in my life, I'll tell you, where I just really had this optimistic view of government, of us all working together to get things done. But it's become apparent that we're sitting here at the table trying to work to get things done. They're over here trying to figure out how to rig the system so that they can just run in perpetuity, regardless of what the people in this country actually want. And so, yeah, I would suspect they're probably going to keep doing it. But if they're smart, they'll learn a lesson from this. And it's that when you do this, you don't have anything to gain. Because ultimately, we have a system here in this country that's designed to protect our democracy, and we aren't going to allow them to subvert it. That's what the court said.
What have conversations looked like between state Democrats and state Republicans since this summer? Because I remember the exchanges were pretty testy back and forth. Obviously, Republicans disagree with this ruling. I mean, have tensions simmered down? Are conversations non-existent? Is it somewhere in between? What does that look like?
I don't speak to Texas Republicans. I'm elected by the Democrats of this state to represent the Democrats. I am Mr. Democrat in Texas. I don't work for Texas Republicans. I have no interest in doing that. Until they decide that they're going to work for the people of Texas, I have no part of the work that they do. If they decide they're going to wake up and try to deliver high quality schools, lower costs of living, access to health care in every corner of this state, sign me up. I can't wait to work with them on it. But instead, they come to us with bullshit like these ridiculous maps. And I have no interest in working with people that aren't serious in delivering for people who are desperately needing help.
How hard does that make your job then, not speaking with the other side? I know that you aren't a lawmaker. I know you don't have constituents who are Republican, who are Democrat, but does that make your job harder at all?
Every constituent I have is a Democrat. But where it makes my job hard is that we should be working together on policy. We should be working together on ways to make voting easier and better. That's certainly within my lane as the state party chairman. In Texas, we have a quirk of state law where our parties actually run the primaries, not the Secretary of State, not an independent voting administrator. The parties do. It would be really great to work with the Republicans to figure out how can we get things like same-day voter registration, and how do we make sure that people who want to legally cast a ballot have an ability to do it. The problem is every time we start to have those discussions, instead of talking about how to make legal citizens ability to vote easier, they start having conversations about how to complicate it, how to make it more difficult, how do we suppress voting in the state of Texas. They aren't solving problems, they're just creating them. And the point I'll make to it, just to prove it, anybody in Texas feel like life's better now than it was 30 years ago? Because 30 years ago, we had the best schools in the country, bridges and roads that were the envy of the world, the lowest tax rates across the country, some of the safest cities in America. Today, after 30 years of Republican rule, no one wakes up and feels like life is better than it was when Democrats ran the state. They're not getting out of bed trying to make life better for people. And until they are, I have nothing to do with them.
I know that both Bondi and Abbott say that it's going to make its way to the Supreme Court. Do you think that the ruling will be the same as the federal court panel? Do you think that it will be different? I mean, are you concerned about this fight at all reaching the highest court?
Look, I don't know how that court's going to rule, but what I will say is that we aren't going to stop fighting. I mean, they have poked a bull with Texas Democrats. This is a hill we're here to die on. We believe genuinely that what they're doing is subverting democracy. And if they're going to continue to subvert democracy, we're going to stand on the front lines to defend it. I have ancestors that stormed the beaches of Normandy, that were in jungles in Vietnam. They did huge things to defend this democracy. We're just being asked to advocate in procedural mechanisms in court. And I think that that's something that is a very low bar for us to meet. If that's what we have to do to save this republic, that's what we're going to make sure that we do. Because the people of this country deserve to pick their own representatives. It should not be the other way around. This country does not belong to Donald Trump. It does not belong to the billionaires. It does not belong to the people that are trying to rig this system. This country belongs to us, the citizens of this country, and we deserve to have our voice heard. We're going to continue to advocate for it relentlessly.
Well, as this story develops, I hope you can come back on and join me and talk about it. Chair Scudder, thank you so much for the time today. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.